Celebrity Everyday 26.
Ahsoka Tano is one of the most popular and important characters in Star Wars, and throughout Star Wars movies and TV shows, she has proven to have these 12 Force abilities. There are many Force powers in Star Wars, some exclusively on the light side, and some exclusively on the dark. These powers have expanded quite a bit over the years, such as with the introduction of Force healing in the Star Wars sequel trilogy, not to mention all the powers associated with the Force dyad between Kylo Ren and Rey. Of course, there are also many tried and true Force abilities, such as the Jedi mind trick and telekinesis. As a character who has only appeared more and more throughout the Star Wars timeline, Ahsoka has increasingly revealed the breadth of her powers. Thus far, Ahsoka Tano has used these 12 Force powers in Star Wars canon. Telekinesis. Ahsoka has mastered the most commonly known Jedi ability. Telekinesis is one of the most commonly known Force powers, which is why all Rey knows in Star Wars. The Last Jedi is that the Force can include lifting rocks. As the very word suggests, this Force power gives the Jedi, or other Force users for that matter, the ability to move objects. This has been used throughout Star Wars for everything from opening doors to catching someone just in time before they hit the ground. Ahsoka Tano has used this Force ability many times in Star Wars. One of the most significant uses came in the finale of Star Wars, The Clone Wars, during which Ahsoka managed to use the Force to pull Darth Maul's ship back in. Had she not been dealing with the attacks of the clones during Order 66, she may very well have been able to ground the ship entirely, which is a power the likes of which have only rarely been seen, including by Darth Vader in Obi-Wan Kenobi. Another Force ability seen throughout Star Wars is blocking blaster bolts, which Jedi managed to do with their lightsabers. This Force ability actually saved Ahsoka's life during Order 66. In Star Wars, Tales of the Jedi, Anakin Skywalker had Ahsoka practice blocking blaster bolts from the clones over and over again. In the end, it was this very training that allowed her to defend herself against countless blaster bolts when Order 66 began. Without this training, she would have died. This also wasn't the only time Ahsoka had to employ this Force ability with the clones, although the circumstances were quite different the first time. Earlier in the Clone Wars, Ahsoka was on the run after being falsely accused of murder. As the clones were attempting to bring her back in, they shot at her, although Anakin had commanded them to use stun only. Once again, Ahsoka used this ability to protect herself. Quite similar to how Ahsoka survived Order 66 and managed to escape the clones when she was on the run, Ahsoka's ability to perform Force-enhanced leaps saved her life. In the case of her escape from prison in the Clone Wars, Ahsoka ultimately got away because she jumped onto a ship below and rode down to the underworld of Coruscant, which made it much more difficult to find her. Ironically, she did this to escape Anakin specifically, and that had once been his signature move, especially in Star Wars. Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Likewise, Ahsoka made use of Force-enhanced jumps several times as she tried to survive Order 66, including leaping up and away from the clones' blaster bolts, leaping across different platforms aboard the ship, and even jumping through the air. As with her ability to protect herself against blaster bolts, Ahsoka's ability to leap to safety countless times throughout this ordeal was a major factor in her survival. Of course, Ahsoka has used this Force power outside these dire circumstances as well. Ezra Bridger may have been the first Jedi in Star Wars to truly display the Force power of animal empathy, most notably with his connection to Lothwolves, but many Jedi have since joined the ranks, Ahsoka Tano among them. In Tales of the Jedi, Ahsoka's origins were finally shown, which confirmed that she had long possessed incredible strength in the Force. One example of this strength was her ability to calm a beast in her village, a Rakshir tiger. Although Ahsoka was only an infant, she was able to use this Force power to calm the beast and save herself. In fact, she even rode back into her village atop the creature, signaling the extent to which she had connected with it. It will be interesting to see if this power is touched upon again in Ahsoka Season 2, especially with Ahsoka now on Prydia, where there is no doubt a whole host of unusual creatures. Ahsoka employed this Force ability in Ahsoka after her former apprentice, Sabine Wren, had left with Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati. Ahsoka was able to find out a bit more about what had happened before Sabine left by touching the destroyed star map. In doing so, She was even able to hear conversations that had taken place between Sabine and Balin. Hopefully, Ahsoka will continue to make use of this ability, as that would make for an exciting plot narratively and would give this Force ability quite a bit more screen time. The final Force power Ahsoka has used is Shatterpoint, although this ability is the most arguable on the list. Shatterpoint refers to Mace Windu's unique Force power that was once in Legends, but was canonized in the Revenge of the Sith novelization. The power gives one the ability to perceive their opponent's weak point, thereby making them a much greater threat in battle. Ahsoka seemingly used this Force power in her fight against the sixth brother in the Ahsoka novel, written by E.K. Johnston, whereas Yoda basically told Anakin to ignore his visions and not give in to them. Yoda taught Ahsoka how to use her visions to identify the threat and save Padmé's life. This was all Anakin had wanted in Star Wars. Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, but presumably, Yoda trusted Ahsoka more than he did Anakin, which he wasn't necessarily wrong about. Even so, it's clear Ahsoka mastered this Force power, as she was able to use it to stop Aurra Sing and save Padmé's life.
Celebrity Every Day 26.